Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever it is you're watching this from. As always, that's becoming somewhat of a catchphrase. I am Elliot Upton. This is the UP Fitness live feed coming to you every Wednesday at 8 PM UK time, right here on Instagram. It's also being recorded for YouTube. As always, this always goes up on YouTube within about a week or so you can get a catch up there if you don't get to catch this entire session this evening. Some of you coming in already, we've got a quick starter now. So the reason I do these chats is to uncover any myths, any misconceptions, to go through any questions you may have, clarify anything on random stuff that you see all over social media, in the media, on TV, in magazines, you name it. Not only that, but I can answer questions on our own products, services, our online training products, LiveUp, which a lot of you will have seen now, our one-to-one services, whereabouts our gyms are and what we offer in there, our supplements, etc, etc, etc. So there's loads and loads of things we can cover. Do not be afraid to get involved. Do not be afraid to ask questions. I will happily do my best to answer anything. If there's something I can't come up with, I will do a subject or a video on it at some other point outside of this if it deserves slightly bigger. There's a few of you out there have asked me to do bigger videos, which are coming. I've been vastly overworked the last few weeks and highly stressed, but they are coming, so do rest assured. A lot of you coming in. We've got a bunch of waves. Let's see who's going to be the first one to take my question virginity this evening. Matt Hare, I hope you're watching this from in bed. On that note, whilst we're filling this empty space, auto-regulation. Now, auto-regulation is a term where we talk about understanding when it's good to back off a little bit on your body, and understanding during training that you can't always go at 100 miles an hour. You can't always redline. You can't always push. Sometimes you have to listen to yourself. Yes, we live in a day and age where everyone on social media is like, oh yeah, no days rest, no, none of this, blah, 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 go at 100 miles an hour all the time. They're all idiots, they're all morons, and none of them actually do that. If you do that, you are going to crash. The way to think about this, if you redline your body constantly, if you're always training, you're not recovering, you're overstressed, all of these things, imagine taking your Ferrari, let's say you have a Ferrari in an ideal world, and you put your foot flat to the floor and you sit there at maximum revs all of the time. You know full well that that's not going to be good for that engine, that it is going to go kaboom if you keep doing it. Now, back off. If you take your foot off the accelerator every now and then, that engine is going to last an awful lot longer. So the same applies with your body. Sometimes you have to listen to the signals, especially if you're overstressed, if you're tired, if you're fatigued, if you've got no motivation to train, if your sleep is screwed up, if your body and muscles are looking flat and under recovered, then don't be afraid to take a week off. It's a very, very important thing. There's a good book that I posted up on the LiveUp forums yesterday. It's very, very relevant in this one, called there's 7 habits of highly effective people, and the final habit within that is so going through questions. The final habit in that is something that says sharpen your tools, or something along those lines, which essentially means, if you imagine a lumberjack is out there using a saw to try and cut down a massive tree. He's been at it for 5 or 6 hours, but the saw is blunt. Somebody comes over and says, you know, you look exhausted, why don't you take a break? Take an hour, sharpen your saw again. When you go back with a sharp saw, you're probably going to do better, you'll get through it. Sometimes it's worth backing off because it means you're going to go back in with a sharper saw. Okay, that tree's going to come down faster, so never be afraid to back off sometimes. Bella Boutique, first question of the day. Hi, I've been dying to ask this. Doesn't matter what time you eat or your post or pre-workout meal, as long as you're in a calorie deficit. Ideally, you know, pre-workout is one of those things. If you're eating pre-workout, just make sure you're eating at a time when you're not going to throw up. So, you know, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours is probably adequate. Post-workout, really, you want to get as close as you can to the end of your workout to replenish fuel. Especially if it's a carb-heavy meal, you want to try and get your body replenished and refueled quite quickly. So I would say potentially yes, try and put it as close to your workout as possible. Post-workout certainly, pre-workout slightly less important. However, that's kind of sweating the moderate size stuff. Providing you get the basics right, you're in a calorie deficit, not too big a calorie deficit, but enough of a calorie deficit, then potentially you are still going to get fat loss results. But yeah, you don't want to be training and then eating your next meal 3 or 4 hours later, because it's going to leave you in a massive state of fatigue, and it's going to it's not optimal for recovery. Cam, welcome back. Rena, what's up? Chris, my champion from LiveUp. Hi mate, any other tips on rest other than rest for forearm pain? Can't even curl 5 kilograms, feel like a pinching pain, even clenching my fist. I'm climbing the walls. Whereabouts is the pain specifically, Chris? Be a tiny bit more specific on that. Are we talking there? Are we talking here? Are we talking underneath? What's happening? Give me a little bit of an idea there. Elias, opinion on 2 times per day training for a short period, 2 to 4 weeks. Example, quads, hams, back, chest, shoulders, arms. 2 times a day training can be really, really useful if, big if your recovery factors are damn near perfect, if you are sleeping excellently, if your nutrition is bang on key, if every part of you is recovering well, if your genetics are bang on the money. If not, if these factors are not in place, you are probably not going to get the best out of it. And this is quite important to remember. 2 a day training can be an amazing way of putting on slabs and slabs of muscle, but everything needs to be in order for you to do that. If you have a job, you know, if you have stuff to do, if you can't go to bed on time, if you have a family, you have general stresses, it may not necessarily be the best way to train, because the chances are you're going to dig yourself into a big hole that you're going to struggle to get out of. What is a better bet? Training harder when you do train those 1 time a day. It's just putting a little bit more in. 2 a day can be used, but there are too many variables, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for the general population, no. Jenny Stokes, hello, welcome back. Joe Fitness, Simon Hadaway, do I believe in training differently based on somatotype? Yes, I'm going to say yes, potentially, just because of the speed at which people atrophy muscle or catabolize muscle, the speed at which, you know, potentially what they're going to be more favored for. So for instance, if I have someone who is an ectomorph, I'm more likely to try and train their fast twitch fibers. So I'll try to train lower reps, you know, let's say probably maximum I'll ever train someone who's quite naturally lean and skinny, an ectomorph, is I will train them closer to the 8 rep and look below. If I'm training someone who's a mesomorph, I don't really give myself a limit. I'll train them anywhere between 2 reps and 20 reps. If I have an ectomorph, I will initially train them in the higher rep ranges to burn more fuel. So let's say 8 to 12, just to burn more fuel. Then when I get them lean, I'll start training them down at the lower ends of the rep ranges, sub 8. Joe Fitness, love UP, awesome, thank you. We are glad that you love UP. Bella Boutique, you're most welcome. I hope I answered your question. Cam, is the myth you can't build muscle and lean out at the same time true? Absolutely not, 100% bollocks. Look at any one of our clients from the last decade. Every single one of them has gained a considerable amount of muscle tissue whilst getting leaner. So, of course, that's probably going to cause arguments. A bunch of people, no, it's impossible, you can't do this. Whatever, don't care. Center of the forearm on the top from where a watch face would be, going right at the center of the elbow joint. So we're talking about here, we're talking, or slightly more on the top. Chances are it's probably just a strain in the muscle. It's going to suck. You're taking, I've advised you take 1 to 2 weeks off. Don't use it. Okay, simple as that. Don't use it. It'll just be the same as a hamstring pull. It'll be the same as something like that. Only it's a little bit more acute, but just don't use it. Try and minimize it, and then it will pass. And hot and cold cycles can potentially help there as well. Lee, I need to lose some body fat, aiming to go to the gym 4 days a week. Should I do half weight training and half hit cardio? That's a good, really good start, Lee. It's a very intelligent way of starting out. I would suggest doing between a half an hour and 45 minutes of weight training, intense heavy weight training, and then go on to maybe 10 to 15 minutes of high intensity interval training, cardio or Tabata, something like that. Be a really good, really effective and really intelligent way of using 4 hours a week to drop body fat quickly. What's up, Andrew? Iftikhar, hello. Hi, Lit. Quick thanks for your help last week. No worries, my man. Obviously, it's my job to try and make sure all of you are happy, all of you are getting exactly what you need. Fingers crossed that everything is going to go brilliantly with Jason, so not a problem there. Obviously, keep me up to date on the forum and how that's going, but you are in phenomenal hands with Jason. He's a superstar. Cam, you're welcome. Crystal and Vanilla, how do you feel about vegan diet when training? Do you have a video on this subject? Did I get everything right? Crystal and Vanilla, personally, this is just me, this is not UP. We have a lot of trainers within UP who are brilliant with vegans. Simon Dutton is one of our guys who comes to mind specifically. We're also writing a book very soon on how to get in shape and how to get a UP transformation on a vegan diet. However, me personally, I don't actually train vegans. Reason being is that the amount of time, difficulty and complications that go into getting amazing results out of 95% of vegans, you know, it's a difficult one because I don't believe in it. I think it's to put it in a nice way. I don't think it's intelligent. I'm going to put it that way rather than my usual way. I don't think it's an intelligent way of eating. Everybody has their reasons. I totally understand the morality behind it, why people choose to do certain things, but from a physiological point of view, it's not necessarily a healthy way of eating. So I don't personally train them, but we have trainers within the business who are specialists at training vegans and have got some phenomenal results out of vegans, so that's not really an issue. But it is a bit more complicated, so it takes an awful lot more work. Fixed bar and Olympic bar. Few days was doing shoulders, and frankly I found it challenging on an Olympic bar. Is it just psychological or due to distribution of weight? Super unstable. So unless you've got mega stable forearm extensors and flexors, it can be really unstable. I don't like it at all. I would say just go to a fixed bar. You're better off. Olympic bars are nasty for stuff like that. The amount of times I've seen people, especially with bench pressing, drop bars on them because they're not used to the way the weight transfers and how the bar rolls. It's just not worth it. Use a fixed bar. What's your thought on, I'm assuming, Mike Rashid's video about him switching to the vegan lifestyle? Mike Rashid is someone who's got up there. Number one, he's got phenomenal genetics. You know, we're talking champion genetics, the elite 0.001% of genetics. Number two, he didn't get there as a vegan. Number three, he's probably taking an awful lot of things that are helping him maintain muscle. So, you know, there's a lot of variables in a situation like that aren't necessarily accounted for in the claims that people make. I like Mike Rashid, he speaks well, you know, I've watched a lot of his training videos, the guy's a beast, but again, don't agree with veganism, you know. Hey up, Jax. Haley, I injured my foot 4 weeks ago whilst running. I love running, love cardio, but try to rest my foot. Any advice on good belly fat burning, ab building exercises to do in the meantime? And the number one fat burning, ab building exercise you can do is dieting correctly. However, you know, this is one of the reasons I tell people not to run. Do not run, because it's incredibly damaging to the body across the board. Unless maybe you can get away with doing it on sand or soft grass, possibly. But again, not overly intelligent for exactly this reason. The risk of it versus the reward from it, they massively outweigh each other. But that aside, if you can, get onto a bike, a spinning bike or an assault bike or an airdyne bike, or you can do battling ropes, or you can do a ski erg, or you can do a rower, any of these things that are lower impact, but you can also get a good full body highly metabolic workout out of, so give them a go. And with regards to actually burning fat, diet. The only thing that's going to give you abs and allow you to burn fat quickly is a great diet. Okay, thanks. Yes, I'll give it time, Chris. Sure, Jim's just had a sled and track, going to start on weights. Starting out whilst off the weights. Now, Chris, the idea is to back off. Back off. Give yourself a couple of weeks. You will come back stronger. Trust me. Don't worry about it. Sleep as much as you can. Relax. Do some yoga if you're going to do anything. Yoga or Pilates. Do something super chill. Please don't weight train. Will do. Jason's a top bloke. Sure is. He's a good guy. Chris Baldwin, how many carb meals would you eat a day to drop body fat? Chris, there's no real answer to that question. There are too many variables. It's entirely individually dependent. I've had people get down to 6% body fat eating 600 or 700 grams of carbs per day on certain days, whereas me personally, I wouldn't be able to get down to that with any more than 50 to 100. So there's too big a question. I would suggest for most people, let's give you an idea of the Live Up plan. For instance, that's about 2, potentially 3 meals per day, with carbs in for most people on a high carb day and 1 to no carbs on a low carb day. So try that. What's your thoughts on berberine for maybe a fat loss program? It's a brilliant supplement. Berberine's excellent for the immune system. It's phenomenal for the gut, and it's brilliant for helping your body to manage glucose and make sure that your body is utilizing carbohydrates properly. So excellent supplement. Again, with any of the supplements that we do, and I do believe we actually do berberine, you can go to upfitness.com and check it out there in the supplement store, or you can hit the link directly in my bio on my profile, which will take you straight into the shop. So whichever you prefer, but go in and check it out. The same will apply to all of the supplements or anything I bring up here in this chat today. Same to you, YouTube. I'll put the link in the description box below. And that's going to allow you to pick up any one of those things. But berberine, phenomenal supplement. I personally have some right out there, and I take 500 milligrams per meal. So I eat between 5 and 7 times a day, and I take 500 milligrams per meal of that. Shireen, hi, what are your thoughts around corn when on a low carb diet? Not a massive fan of corn or any kind of soy-based product. Soy elevates estrogens. It's natural estrogen. It's the highest soybean is the highest natural source of estrogens going, so it can cause a little bit of havoc with your not your immune system, with your endocrine system. So I'm not a huge fan of it, to be honest. But obviously you need to get your protein from somewhere if you are choosing to have a meat-free diet. So you know, it's one of those things. Miri, hi Elliot, I'm doing a UP Live and I've been following the programme to a T, but I've also rugby training and match on the non-gyms days. Would you advise I lower the HIT? Yes, absolutely. Take it out completely and then you're probably going to need more carbs, but we'll look at that at check-in days. Villy, hi Elliot, our trap 3 raises close to face pulls. Sometimes I can't use a pulley at the gym. They're a little bit more isolated to trap 3, so, and you're obviously not going to be able to go anywhere near as heavy. Potentially they're, if anything, for lower traps, they're probably better than a face pull, because a face pull is also going to work the upper traps, it's going to work the rear delts considerably, potentially the medial delts as well. So either or, but yeah, trap 3 raise is probably something I would do separately. It's a brilliantly effective exercise. For anyone who's wondering what a trap 3 raise is, it's essentially lying down on a 45-degree bench or thereabouts with a dumbbell in your hand, or potentially not, and you're going to lift your arm out to about 45 degrees. Do that from the side, out to about there, which is going to activate the traps below the shoulder blades, help pull them down, put you in a better posture, in a much more stable position. Very, very good for carryover to pull-ups if you struggle with pull-ups, very good for bench press if you struggle with bench press, all kinds of overhead pressing movements, etc. Cam, what is the safest way to increase weight when lifting? Should you practice 1 rep max regularly? I would say there's not really a need to practice a 1 rep max at all, other than to give yourself a bit of an ego polish. You know, it's kind of a bro thing. Yes, of course, if you are an Olympic lifter, all right, if you are actually competing, then maybe there's a justification for it. Honestly though, the rest of the time, is it worth it considering the risk involved? What are you getting out of it? Nothing, apart from maybe a little bit of bar talk, but the risk of doing a 1 rep max on the regular, extremely high. So I'm going to say no, there really isn't. A 5 rep max, maybe, that's a better indicator of your strength and how to program for me. But increasing weight, you know, what you need to say, if you go into a lot of the Poliquin studies, between 2 and 5% is all you need to elicit a response from the body, an adaptation response. So if we talk about, let's say a 100 kilo squat, for instance, all you need to put on that bar is 2 kilos. Okay, 2 kilos is enough for your body to sense a need to respond to it. Okay, so 2 kilos each time, that is enough. Now, obviously, it's not always going to go up so easily, but that's what you should be aiming for, 2 kilos on 100. Obviously, if you're doing a bench press and it's only 80, then you're not going to need anywhere near that much. You're going to need 1.6 kilos per session. So progress as much as you need to get a response, not as much as you can. The reason I say that is if you can lift, let's say you have a really, really strong day and you can lift 10 kilos more. The problem with that is you may well fatigue your nervous system, so the next session you're back down 5 kilos and you can't get back up to that 10 for a few weeks. Not only that, but you are kind of taking away a bit of progression. You're making your life harder when programming your workouts because you've taken such a big leap ahead that you're already months ahead in your programming, rather than just taking step-by-step progression, because you're not necessarily going to change any quicker, but you've removed your ability to progress over time, so to sustain those gains becomes a lot harder. Elaine, hello, Pete. I work as a plasterer and usually work 6 days a week, so everything is pretty repetitive for my right arm. I tend to overstretch a lot of jobs. At the same time, training heavy. I tend to get a lot of aches and pains, I'm guessing from contributing both with work and training. Would you recommend a good session? Anything to avoid or to make it more beneficial for me? Sorry, repeat that a little bit, Pete. I don't quite understand that. Himanshu, many thanks, agree with you. I hated it too. We'll stick to fixed bar. Yeah, it's smarter, you know. One of the things I always try to teach everybody in the Live Up Plan, and every client I've ever had, and anyone who ever asks me a question, whenever you select an exercise, whenever you put an exercise in a program, look at it and say, what is the risk versus the reward? Okay, and the same applies with everything in life. The same applies with investments. The same applies with jumping something on your BMX, whatever it happens to be. What is the risk versus the reward? Is it worth what I'm going to get out of this? Is it worth the risk I'm going to put into it? On certain things, it just isn't. You know, when you see all these fancy, stupid, ridiculous movements and crazy grips on barbells and blah, 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 what are you getting out of it that you wouldn't get out of a normal, much safer grip? Probably, if at all, and that's a big one, 1% increase for a 50% increase in risk. 100% not worth it. Absolutely not. So just keep that in mind when you're programming for yourself. PTP, I mean, it's difficult. I'm just going to assume you mean you're getting aches and pains from RSI, so you want to probably get that treated, get a therapist to look at whatever parts of you that are aching specifically. I would imagine a lot of that's potentially overhead, like this, so you may not want to do any kind of shoulder pressing, may overtrain the anterior deltoid. Do a lot of rear delts, potentially laterals to try and balance it out a bit. And again, an awful lot of stuff on the lower traps to try and pull everything back down, because again, a lot of the time you're going to be elevated in your shoulder girdle while you're doing stuff. So it's a bit, without seeing you, it's very, very difficult for me to judge that. Chris, you're welcome. Chris Baldwin, you're also welcome. PTP. Law, hello Law. Ben Maho, welcome back. Laura Cupcakes. Hey, what is Estro Support for? Estro Support is a supplement that we do that helps to rebalance the levels of xenoestrogens in your body. Now, in anybody's body, both male and female, you need an amount of estrogen. It is protective. It stops all sorts of things going on. It keeps your mood stable. It's a very, very good thing to have in your body. However, there are 3 types specifically. There are 2-hydroxyestrogen, 4-hydroxyestrogen, and 16-hydroxyestrogen. Now, 2 is the protective type. It's very, very good and we need it. 4 and 16 are harmful. They are potentially the substances that feed cancerous growths. They are terrible for our testosterone levels. They cause depression, they cause anxiety, they cause various disruption to all sorts of things going on in the body. Now, we want enough of the 2, but none of the, not none, but a very, very low amount of the 4 and 16 hydroxyestrogens. What Estro Support does, I believe, is to help detoxify them. It helps liberate them from the tissues and actually take them out of the body and allow them to go through the liver and be passed out. One of the issues, your body does do that naturally because it knows it doesn't want certain things inside it. The problem is, once the liver has done its job, it's taken these harmful toxins, it's taken them through the liver and tried to filter them out. You have something a bit further down the cycle called beta-glucuronidase, which recognizes these estrogens, but potentially as good estrogens. So it latches back onto them and pushes them back into the system, which we don't want. The body's trying to be smart, but it's actually shooting itself in the foot. Estro Support, I believe, through its various compounds, actually helps you to prevent that cycle from happening to such a degree. Okay, so it actually brings these xenoestrogens out of your body. Therefore, it's going to help the female cycle massively. It's going to reduce symptoms of PMS. It's going to improve your mood stability. It's going to reduce anxiety. It's going to reduce digestive stresses. It's going to improve sleep. All sorts of stuff. So it's a phenomenal supplement. I actually take 2 capsules a day every single day because, like me, even as a male, I have massive problems with estrogens because I was so fat my whole life. Fat cells store estrogens and can actually convert testosterone into estrogen through a process called aromatization. So I have a major issue with it because of my health history. So I actually take 2 of them a day just to try and keep myself on a level. Joanne, you're welcome. Madge, hi babe to you. Remember, any of these supplements, go to upfitness.com and you can get hold of them straight away. We can deliver them to most places in the world. Or if you can't go to upfitness.com, which I find very hard to believe, you can hit the link in my bio in Instagram. That's Elliot Upton. It'll take you straight into the shop there. Crystal, I have a vegan diet because hospital tests revealed an intolerance to eggs and dairy, giving me migraines. Can't wait for this book you've spoken about. So why aren't you eating meat then, Crystal and Vanilla? That's an excellent tip about weight progression. Absolutely. Believe it or not, Chris, I kind of know what I'm doing with this stuff. Sort of. Blag it, fake it till you make it, right? Thank you. Makes a lot of sense. This week I felt weaker during weight training compared to last week. No problem, Cam. Pete, sorry I meant, is there anything I should avoid with regards to certain exercises? My shoulder and back tends to get a lot of aches and pains. Okay, yeah, so, I mean, I would suggest limiting the amount of overhead pressing you're doing because you're already overtraining that muscle anyway. It's going to be slightly fatigued, so maybe not. Work horizontal pulling movements, lots of horizontal and vertical pulling movements to try and rebalance your functional movements during the day. And I'd also make sure you're doing a lot of work on your glutes and transversus abdominis, so your actual abdomen, because as you're reaching overhead quite often, you will arch your back, which is going to put an awful lot of pressure on your lower back. So train to put yourself into what we call a slight posterior pelvic tilt. So actually, if you imagine Your hips are a bowl of soup. You can tip it forwards to pour things out the front, or you can tip it backwards, which is kind of tucking your bum under. You do, you know, kind of strengthen your glutes up a bit and get that balance. You don't have too much of a severe arch in your lower back. That will probably reduce your chances of compressive back pain. And as I say, don't do too much overhead pressing because it's potentially what you're doing all day, every day. So try to balance that out in the gym by doing everything that opposes that. James, very valid point on risk versus reward. See people try mad CrossFit style workouts and so many people negate the basics. 100%, you know, CrossFit is one of those things that everybody knows my stance on CrossFit. It's not something that I need to go into in these live chats too often. But the whole thing is risk versus reward. You know, CrossFit is great for the brain. It's great for the work ethic. It's great for getting that buzz and really enjoying it. But every single person in CrossFit, whether in a box or in a sport, is injured and wrapped up here and wrapped up there, and they've got that and they're taking injections here and this. It's just mental. And this is the crazy thing about CrossFit, is that everybody knows it's breaking them, but they still do it and they still love it. Rather than saying, do you know what, back this off a bit, learn how to lift properly. Now don't get me wrong, if you watch the real athletes, we're not talking like the regionals, we're talking the real athletes, Rich Froning, people like that, Matt Fraser. When these guys lift, they are brilliant. Even muscle ups, which I hate. Watch Matt Fraser and Rich Froning do muscle ups, and it's controlled. It's fast, but it's constantly under tension. The joints are under control. These things are happening. Now go to your average box, people are flopping around like a dead fish on a hook. Okay, this is why people get injured. So yeah, risk versus reward. CrossFit's a big one for that, but it's just a shame because all this stuff gets lost in translation. It's all Chinese whispers, right? You know, they see the athletes do it. By the time it hits a box or general population, everyone's getting broken in half. Pete, definitely from overhead, you're right. Cheers, Elliot. I'll focus more on rear delts and traps. Yeah, just think about what you're doing functionally and try and balance it out and make sure you take care of that lower back and keep your glutes strong. Andrew, over in California and taking a membership of a local gym, they have an assisted pull-up machine. I don't to use to look like a dick. You don't want to use to look like a dick. Is there a good body weight to use, or are they pants? So I'm assuming you don't want to, sorry, you don't want to use the assisted pull-up because you don't want to look like a dick. Andrew Forfar, get over it, you tit. I know you're in here a lot, but everybody starts somewhere. A pull-up is a brilliant, brilliant movement. Now, yes, of course, you can replace it with a pull-down, but it's going to be nowhere near as metabolically active. It's going to be nowhere near as demanding on your muscular system, so you're not going to get as much out of it. Suck it up. No one's going to care. No one's going to look. No one's going to watch. No one's going to point and laugh. Just use the assisted pull-up machine. Get over it. Honestly. Laura Cupcakes, you're welcome. Emir, what's up? Hey Horace. Chris Alpino, yeah, you know a thing or two. Great post today as well. Calling out the haters, like it. YOLO. I can't wait to start New Legs program. Looks great. Let me know how it goes. Give it a kick in. Make sure you're going in hard. You have an immense amount of knowledge. Not many in the fitness industry come close to your level. Thanks, Shreen. You know, I know a little bit about a few things. The thing is with me is I'm not an educated man, but I'm good at knowing what works in real life. You know, give me a study, give me all of these little papers and blah 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 blah. It's just not me. But I'm excellent at the real world. I will say that I'm proud of it. It's a skill I do have. I'm very, very good when it comes to applying anything to the actual real world, rather than what I see in a book and then saying, okay, well, I'll try this. I know what will work and I know what won't. And you know, I've also done this for a long, long time. I've done this for like 10, 11, 12 years. And I've learned off some of the best in the industry. I've had Nick Mitchell as my mentor for nearly 7, 8 years, which is a big thing. Charles Poliquin as a mentor for, you know, at least 6 years. Rest in peace, the guy, but you know, sad he's gone. But I've been lucky enough to learn from the best. Lucy Sparrow, have you got any good pull-up progression tips? First one of all, which I see everybody getting wrong, don't do them to failure. You see people trying to grind out, when they're trying to get strong, they try to grind out a couple of shit reps at the end of every single set. If you want to get strong quickly, don't do that, because what that is doing is it's overtaxing your nervous system, which means that you're going to get certainly not, we're not going to get weaker, but you're certainly not going to get as strong as quickly as you should. So don't train to failure when you're trying to get strong, especially on something like pull-ups. use assistance, you know, keep your reps low. Let's say 5 or less. Do them a couple of sets of 5. Let's say 3 times a week on alternating days, so make sure you're 2 or 3 days apart, and keep doing that, and each time try to take away a little bit of resistance, but don't grind out reps and train to failure if you're trying to get strong. You don't want to be failing if you're trying to get strong. Ben, I'm currently training with a friend who has celiacs, and because of the food they are restricted, they are struggling to lose fat and tone up. Have you got any suggestions on what to try? First of all, Ben, if they've got celiacs, they're going to have gut issues. Having gut issues is a major problem and can always cause a massive barrier to fat loss. So you would be worth checking what measures they're actually taking to take care of their gut, because often with something like that, simply taking the foods out that are irritants, that's the first stage, but there's an awful lot of other stuff that needs to follow that in order to get the gut back to where it needs to be. So I would recommend, if they can, actually addressing that. Get their gut in order, get their liver in order, because obviously the liver will be overworked if it's trying to deal with loads of toxins that are leaking through the gut. So work on that and you may find that fat loss starts to come on, but that's a big subject, massive subject. Lisa Marie Tolley, can you give me a quick breakdown of the supplements, vitamins you take and why, and also do you use protein shakes, and if so, how often per day? Lisa, I certainly can. You should be in the Live Up forum, the online training forum. I will actually be posting videos if I get time tomorrow. I'm going to try and film them all on the supplements we currently do and explain them to you and why we take them, based on, I believe it was your feedback a few weeks ago. It's taken me a while to get all the info packs together, but I am going to film them very shortly, so that should be up in the next few days before I have to fly back to the UK. On that note, what I take, so with every single meal, I have a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in water. I have it with every single meal because it helps my body deal with glucose. It also keeps my gut settled and stops me from getting bloated. Apple cider vinegar is very good for keeping gut bacteria balanced. So that's my number 1. Number 2, I take berberine, which can be found on upfitness.com or by the link in my bio. I take berberine 500 milligrams with every single meal, every time I eat. Again, partially that is for glucose management, managing essentially your carbohydrates. It's also great for digestion in general and can help with your immune system because it looks after the gut. Remember, everything starts in the gut. I take estro support every single day, which is essentially, as I explained earlier on in this video or in this live feed, it allows your body to cleanse itself and rebalance estrogen levels. It cleanses itself of the harmful estrogens, basically xenoestrogens that we take in from foods, from water, from drinks, alcohol that we breathe in, the stuff that we rub on our skin. All of these things harm us and cause us massive problems and massive issues with our endocrine system. So I take estro support every single day, 2 caps to sort that out. I take vitamin D3, which also helps me with various things. Insulin sensitivity, massive for immunity, general feelings of well-being, and I take 5,000 IU of that per day. I take omega-3 fish oils, which I take 10 grams a day of, 5 in the morning, 5 in the afternoon. Again, insulin sensitivity, great for inflammation, awesome for bringing down inflammation, immune system, again, you name it, kind of the be-all and end-all of supplements. I take vitamin B complex, which it helps absorption of everything else. It helps with your digestive system. It helps with liver detoxification, which again I have issues with because of various health problems. So I take that. I take zinc in the morning, 30 milligrams of zinc first thing, which allows me to keep my testosterone in check. It's a cofactor in about 300 different other processes in the body. So cofactor means it's kind of like a building block. It gets used to help out with a bunch of other stuff, so it can be depleted really quickly. I also take curcumin as an anti-inflammatory. I take at least 1 to 2 caps of them per day. I take magnesium, 400 to 500 milligrams every single night before I go to bed to help me sleep. That stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, which actually helps calm the body down, settle you down. Now, there are a bunch of other things that I take within that, but those are the basics. Those are the ones I suggest, you know, are most important. If you want to kind of summarize that, because that was a big subject, go to upfitness.com or hit the link in my personal bio and go to the Live Up Essentials. Search in the search bar Live Up Essentials or Live Up, and it will bring up the Live Up Essentials, which are 2 supplement packs, 1 for males, 1 for females, that I put together personally for my squad over on the Live Up program. And that's what I believe all of you, if nothing else, if you were to stop wasting money on loads of other shit that you're probably going to rot at the back of your cupboard, get this supplements pack, and that's what you take every day, and that will kind of cover everything. It kind of breaks down what I've just said, explains it, but that's what I recommend. And protein shakes I only take, and I suggest you only take post-training, no other time. Shireen, what percentage body fat would a female 5'6" start to see definition? Too big a question, Shireen. Your height doesn't really have much to do with it. It's kind of genetics, you know. I've seen both males and females who have abs at over 20%. I've seen males and females who still don't have abs at 6%. So it's hard to say, you know. Optimal body fat for me for a female is between 14 and 16%, because that keeps femininity, but it shows athleticism. It's going to get you quite lean. You're potentially going to see abs. That's about a ballpark, but when would you start to look lean? Somewhere around 16 maybe. Andrew Forfart, Clarity Cleanse, nice brows. You kidding me? My unibrow? These are horrible. But thanks, cheers. If you've got any you're offering me free eyebrow service there, then by all means give me a shout. Chris Baldwin, do you believe in the push-pull legs training method or mixing the sessions up? Absolutely, push-pull training can be really, really good. For me, something like that, because it's going to be usually, depending on what you're trying to build up, it's going to be a 5-day training split for the most part, maybe 4, depending on, as I say, what you're trying to train. You've got to be able to recover well. You got to be able to recover really well. You got to be sleeping well. You got to be low stress, and you got to be eating well. If you're not, you are going to struggle. But yeah, it's an awesome way of setting up your training. Very, very simple as well. Lucy Sparrow, no problem. Do you advise calisthenics integrated with weights? Absolutely, it can help you move better. You know, one of the things I miss, I'm 100 kilos now, and I know I'm making a conscious effort now. I was actually sitting on a flight back from the UK on Saturday, and I don't move as well as I used to. You know, I used to be able to, someone would call me 2 days earlier and say, right, do you want a ticket for this marathon we're going to do tomorrow? I'll be like, yeah, screw it and do it. And I could run for 8, 9, 10, 12 hours without any issues. Now I'm way too heavy to do that. I could do handstands, I could throw my body around like a doll, never get injured, never really had an issue with doing that kind of thing when I was 60, 70 kilos. Now I'm 100 kilos, massive difference. I kind of miss that thing, and I believe it's very important to vary your training in such a way that it keeps you mobile and it keeps your skill set varied. So yes, absolutely, do calisthenics, integrate it with your weight training for sure. Custom install, what's up? Biome is the new body gym. Not sure what that is. Ben Maher, is there any long of liver support you could suggest to try? They have been put in one low FODMAP diet, which, is there any long of liver support? Say that one again, Ben. Or is there anything for liver support? And there's a bunch of supplements you can take for liver support. If you go over to upfitness.com, I believe we do our own, which helps support phase 2 liver detoxification, which is kind of the difficult one. Your body, if you consider liver detoxification, there are essentially 2 main phases. Number 1 is getting the waste products from your body and your tissues and taking it to your liver. Second phase is getting it from the liver out of your body. Now this is the second phase, which is usually what clogs it up. The way to think about it, the way your body cleanses itself of toxins and issues, is if you are, we talk about household rubbish. Let's look at household rubbish. If you were to take bin bags out to the street, take your bin bags out to the street, that is the first phase. You take the rubbish from your house, you bag it up and you take it to the street being the liver, okay? Phase 2 of that detoxification is the bin men coming and taking it away. Bang, pick it up, take it away. Now, if you're putting rubbish out there at the same speed as the bin men are taking it away, not a problem. However, if you're putting out 20 bags a day, there's loads of toxins going into your liver, but your liver is not clearing it off the street quick enough, okay? The bin men aren't clearing it off the street quick enough. It backs up on the street. You end up with a big pile of rubbish on the street, and this is what causes most problems, you know, headaches, common headaches, migraines, issues like that. Now, it's essentially what happens when you're going out drinking, right? You put tons and tons of toxin in, your liver tries to clear it, but it can't because you've put too many bags of rubbish on the street. The bin men can't clear it fast enough. That phase 2 blocks up like a clogged funnel. That's why you get really, really hungover. That's why your head hurts, why all these things start to go wrong. So we have a supplement on upfitness.com. I can't remember what it's called because I'm being a fool, but it does support phase 2 liver detoxification, so get on over there and check that out. I'll try and think about it off the top of my head if I can. It'll suddenly jump into my brain in a minute. You sound like a pillbox, bro. How about a proper dietary intake? Trust me, my diet's flawless, custom in-store. However, I've had multiple quite serious health problems over my lifetime, so for me it's better to be safe than sorry. And I can guarantee you, my diet is 99% better than almost anyone you'll ever meet. when doing full body workouts, is there an optimum way to work around the body? Boski, safest bet, and keep it simple, is work the bigger muscles first. Simple as that. Bigger muscles first. Lisa Marie Tolley, amazing, great tips there. We'll check out the Live Up Essentials. Thank you, no problem at all. We have the Live Up Essentials for females there, which will be perfect for you, or Live Up Essentials for males. The reason I put them together, it's just a lot easier for you to go straight to those packages rather than shop around and think, oh, do I need this, read through this, or do I need that, blah, 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 blah. This kind of puts everything that I believe you should be taking every day straight into one place, so you can go in there, click, and gone. Done. Is it possible for a week or more boot camp in Marbella? Potentially yes, but number one, how many people would actually pay for it, because it's going to be expensive, very, very expensive. Number two, there aren't many people who are going to be able to put up with that level of intense training, because, you know, a week to get your money's worth, you're probably going to want to train every single day, maybe at least 5 days. Now, that level of training for 5 days is going to give people an absolute pasting. So it may not necessarily be optimal. What you tend to find is that a 3 or 4 day camp is usually a lot better than a 7 day camp. But obviously, if you come into one of the 3 or 4 day camps, just stay longer, have a bit of a holiday. And obviously, you can still train at UP Marbella. Opinion on glutamine dosage and timing. Glutamine I take in my intra-workout shake. It's also added to our supplement Amplify, which is an intra-workout supplement. It's full of glutamine, it's full of leucine, it's full of electrolytes. Glutamine's very, very clever in it kind of plugs holes. It is converted into things, I believe, is converted into things that we may be deficient in elsewhere. So it's really, really useful to have in your diet. It can also help prevent fat storage. There's a million different things it can do. Also helps repair leaky gut, which is a massive one because most of our guts are screwed from the stuff we put into them. Dosage, I would suggest 5 grams per day, either in the morning in some water or post-workout in a post-workout shake, something like that. It's when it's going to be absorbed fairly quickly. What is the optimum time to take an espresso, and after what time should you stop? The optimum time to take an espresso is as soon as you wake up. The optimum time to stop is as soon as you've had that espresso. Don't be drinking more than 1 a day. Not smart. What's the best exercise for glutes when in the gym? Your advice. 100% Rosa, the hip thrust, the barbell hip thrust. If you want to know how to do that, you can go to my profile, Elliot Upton, and you can see a million videos on hip thrust variations, how I like to do them, what I find are really, really useful. But for me, you want to build good glutes, active glutes, that are going to carry over to your other movements. Hip thrust a lot, heavy hip thrusts. Now, they're more active your glutes are. You know, squats, people say, oh yeah, she squats, he squats, blah, blah, blah. Squats don't really do much for your glutes at all. They tend to be a more quad dominant movement. However, the more active and better you can recruit your glutes through things like good activation techniques at the beginning of workouts and more hip thrusting, the better you are actually going to utilize your glutes in things like squats. So by doing lots of hip thrusting, you're going to have a better carryover to other movements. Lisa Marie Tolley had a PT session at UP Manchester last week, was amazing, and I would highly recommend it. I had a major pain in my legs the next day that went way past Tom's. Any tips to aid recovery if this happens again? Hot and cold, if you can actually deal with it, you know, hot bath, cold bath, or at the very least get into a hot bath, then jump under a cold shower, then a hot bath, cold shower, hot bath, cold shower, or vice versa. You know, especially if it's your legs, fill the bath with cold water, get into a hot shower, then drop between the two, because obviously you're not going to have a massive hot water bottle that's going to help that. Massage, if you can, is going to be really, really useful, and baths with magnesium salts. Magnesium salts can be very, very good. Dependent on the severity, and something, you know, it's not immediately going to stop it, but something that's really, really good for bringing down inflammation, especially painful inflammation like that, is something like curcumin. If you go to upfitness.com or hit the link in my bio, and you can get curcumin. It's a great anti-inflammatory and massively reduces pain of things like DOMS, helps to speed up recovery. Sonia, thanks for that, mate. You're welcome, Ben. Best way to put on muscle. Best way to put on muscle is to train heavy and progressively, rest a lot, and eat shitloads. That is the best way to put on muscle. If you want a little bit more information on that, a bit of elaboration, if you go to my YouTube channel, Elliot Upton, I did an interview with 2 of our guys from Mayfair, Barry Pitts and Matt Earls, who are massive, and we basically just go for half an hour of chatting about how to gain muscle, answering your questions. We did a live Q&A on it. Really, really useful. It's gone down really well. A lot of people have taken some great information from it, and these guys practice what they preach, as you can see when you go in there. Barry Pitts especially, his arm is the size of my actual body. Matt Earls, again, is an absolute tank, but he's so white. Stufa, welcome back. Your videos in the coming. We've got the little bits and bobs being checked now. Oh, I was smart enough to chill my water today. It's so good. I learned last week I have my parents staying with me in my apartment at the moment. I've been there for about a week and a half. I'll be here for about another half a week. But it means I'm having to do the live feeds in my spare room now. Unfortunately, I live in Marbella. It's very, very hot. The air conditioning in the spare room does not work as well as it does in the rest of the house. And I get hot awfully easily. So forgive me if I start sweating. Last week I was absolutely pouring. Can you eat on a diet more vegetables than complex carbs? Can you eat too many vegetables on a low carb diet, carb cycling plan? Of course you can eat too many vegetables, not for the common issues that people say because of calories and this, that and the other, more because of the digestive stress. If you eat too many vegetables, you're going to put your digestive system under a lot of stress, which you don't want. So eating a good amount, I suggest for most people, depending on your digestive function, between 1 and 2 handfuls per meal. Every time you eat, between 1 and 2 handfuls per meal is adequate. I recommend a live up plan that most people have between 6 and 8 servings of veg every single day, and that should be about right. Daniel, avoid all upper body training because of a sprained wrist that is on the mend. You don't necessarily have to. You know, that's the glory of things like cable machines, is you can attach straps. Depends on what your gym has access to be honest, mate. You know, if you've got straps, you can do all sorts of cable flies, you can do pressing movements, you just don't have to engage the wrist. So it kind of depends on what your gym's got. I've had people without hands, I've trained people without, you know, full limbs, and you can still train them as long as you have straps and cable machines. Boski, would you recommend increasing weight sets or stick to same weight per workout? Sorry, Boski. You should always be aiming, I don't really understand that one fully. You should always be aiming to progress your weight training workouts, always looking for a slight progression, whether in reps or in weight or both. Ooh, liver. I read articles to advise training mid-lower traps to fix round shoulder. Any effective way to isolate those muscles on training without using upper traps? Oliver, if you look for a trap 3 raise, if you go onto our YouTube channel, UP Fitness, and look for trap 3 raise, we've got a perfect video in there that shows you how to do it. It's essentially a 45-degree bench with your arms hanging off it. You would then retract the shoulder blade, lift out at 45 degrees, and return to start point. Okay, it's a really, really good exercise. Isolates the lower traps a little bit better. Go over and check it out. upfitness.com. Oh, sorry, UP Fitness on YouTube, and look for trap 3 raise. Lisa, what are your thoughts on coconut water? Seeing it loads on Insta, is it as good for you as everyone makes out? It's just another one of these things. It's another one of these fads. It's going nuts, you know. I like coconut water. I have coconut water as my post-workout shake, but people are necking it litre by litre by litre by litre. You know, if you're taking down 6 pints of coconut water, oh yeah, but it's full of potassium and electrolytes and superfood, and someone in an organic health store who is also a vegan said it was awesome for me and I'm better than you because I drink it. All that is doing is adding about 500 calories to your day every single day. Now, yes, it has some good stuff in it, but people start taking the piss and stuff like that. Let's look at what happens with coconut oil. You know, back in the day when everyone was like, oh, coconut oil's great, coconut oil's great. Yeah, but then everyone was putting it in everything and adding 1,000 calories a day to their diet without any extra food. Everyone started getting fat. Oh, it can't be the coconut oil. Coconut oil's so good for me. No, it's superfood, isn't it? Yes. It's one of those things. Is it bad? No. Is it amazing? No. Have one post-workout, fine, whatever, doesn't matter. Stick to, if you can, water. You get some nice water or fizzy water. You stick some fresh lemon juice in there and some mint. Oh, it's glorious. It's like drinking mojitos all day, but it's perfectly, awesomely clean and brilliant. I don't like eating on the rush in the morning. Should I train fasted in the early whilst on BCAs? Stufa, if you're doing a short bout of cardio, then I've got no real issue with you training fasted. However, weight training fasted, I always try to advise against it. I don't believe it's an intelligent thing to do. Your body is already in a catabolic state, potentially first thing in the morning. then going into training, causing that kind of stress, your blood sugar is going to be low, you're likely to risk dizziness, you're not necessarily going to get the best results from it. So I would advise against it if you can. Maybe a better option there than something like BCAAs initially is going to be an actual protein shake. Have your post-workout shake before you work out. So have that first thing in the morning with some added saturated fats, or some butter or some coconut oil or something in it to give you a bit of a boost. And then post-workout, you start with your breakfast meals. An intra-workout, have something like Amplify, our intra-workout supplement. Amy, Chris, Ricky, Laws at the yuppie impression, where, you know, it's one of those things, it's the same, it's this whole movement. I did a video on it ages ago, a little rant as I do. Superfoods. All foods are super. They keep us alive. They're awesome. The problem is that we eat so much shit these days that when someone says, oh, this is just a normal food, it's an actual food that we should be eating, no, it's a superfood, isn't it? So you've got to pay £7 more per kilo for it because it's a superfood. It's all over Instagram. Shut up! God. It's just a food. The only reason you think it's super is because we're so damn stupid we don't eat it anymore. It's amazing what marketing can do. Chris Arpino, would a 10-minute kettlebell session count as a HIIT alternative? Yes, potentially. What snack do I recommend in the afternoon before training? Kind of whatever you want. I'd say something protein and fatty. Unless you're super lean, in which case you can add carbs to that as well. Rosa, do you think doing abs is important to lean out the midsection, or is it definitely down to your diet? It is 100 million, thousand, trillion, gazillion % down to your diet. Get your diet right. When you can see your abs, then you can start training them. If you can't really see them, not a massive amount of deal with training them apart from entertainment, really. Hi, I've done my back in and I was told not to go back to the gym for at least 10 weeks. What exercise can I do? Very depends on what you've done to your back, to be honest. If you have really properly injured it, then as in some kind of structural problem, not really smart for me to say. Depends on what you've done. Speak to your doctor, whatever restrictions you have. You know, water-based exercise can sometimes be good for the back just to keep you moving. Gentle walking, things like that, but it's hard for me to say. Amy casting memories. It is really funny, but it's true, right? You know, this is why it's funny, because it is true, because all of us have been there. We've sat over the table from someone who's, you know, probably a vegan or a real organic or this, that and the other. They've read one magazine, you know, Organic Weekly in 1997, and suddenly they're the world's greatest nutritionist. They're the Neil deGrasse Tyson of nutrition. No, this is this and this is... Shut up. Honestly, it happens to me every single day. Guarantee every single day. Somebody, one of these people, will pick a fight on me, imagining they know more about nutrition than someone who's done it at a professional level for 12 years. Like, you've read an article, Susan. That's all you've done. True story, absolutely. What breakfast do you recommend after a cardio session in the morning? Again, whatever you like. Whatever you like. Keep it clean. An omelette. Have some oats if you've done any kind of weight training in there or it's a high intensity session. Salmon, red meat, nuts. Chris, can you recommend mid-evening snack for sweet cravings? First of all, easiest thing is to make sure you're saving your carbs till the evenings. That myth that carbs should be eaten between the hours of, say, 6 AM and 4 PM is absolute rubbish. It's bollocks. So save your carbs to the evening. That's going to reduce your cravings anyway, and it's going to be optimal for body composition and recovery. Secondly, if you're really struggling, then go to upfitness.com and get some Choco Trients. Get some of our greens powder. It's essentially a fiber powder. Helps with digestion, helps with detoxification, helps balancing your hormones out. It's absolutely phenomenal fiber powder, but it's got a super rich chocolatey taste. Tastes like hot cocoa. And with that in mind, you can make hot cocoa out of it, you can make brownies out of it, you can add it to avocado and make like a mousse out of it. There's a million different things. So my advice would be to get over there onto that and get some Choco Trients, and you can be a bit imaginative with it. You can do all sorts with it. What benefits do you get from glutamine and L-carnitine? Are they essential to your weight training? Not essentials, Rosa, but very beneficial. L-carnitine is excellent for promoting the kind of the energy transfer between cells. So it's actually going to allow you to oxidize fat better. It's going to give you an energy boost, so very, very worth doing. With that in mind, don't take it late at night. You know, try and take it in the morning / early afternoon, it'll be better. With regards to visual fat loss effects, it's not really going to have a huge effect, maybe a couple of %, but certainly from an energy point of view, a mental point of view, it's going to be very, very beneficial. And glutamine, as I pointed out at the very beginning of this chat, very, very useful for the gut, very, very useful for fat loss, very, very useful for filling in gaps with other stuff where your body may be a little bit deficient. So yeah, both very, very much worth it, extraordinarily beneficial, but are they essential? Not necessarily essential. Giselle, what's better, drinking green tea or green tea supplements? What do you prefer? I mean, green tea supplement is likely to be the more bioavailable version of it, and it's extracted, potentially more pure, so you're gonna have to drink less of it to get more of it, if that makes sense. So supplement is there, but why not have both? Chris Baldwin, no problem. Lisa Marie, I think last week you said you recommend little to no caffeine. I've been necking green tea until 2 PM each day, thinking it was speeding up metabolism. This is a load of BS. In my opinion, it's not going to make the vastest amount of difference. You know, people think that by having a cup of green tea every day that they're suddenly going to lose 6% a week rather than 1%. It's not going to happen. Maybe it gives you a 2% edge. Now, of course, 2% is nothing in isolation. However,